You're wondering why I haven't been made a cut?
Yeah, I heard you got rusty.
Start looking for shoe.
We're on text 9 today.
Yeah. What happened to the metal cup?
I think it got too rusty, yeah.
Oh, rusted out?
Yeah, we need to get a new one.
So much for stainless steel, huh?
Yeah. Indian stainless steel.
I said it was stainless steel.
Stanley steel. I tell you, you're not
listening.
Not understanding.
I think it is. He's about to on the dark.
Go then.
It's text 9 today.
No, but yes, it was Karya, Karya, Karya. That's pretty good stuff.
Really?
It is coconut water.
Oh, really?
Oh, you got in the maha.
I thought it was a Maha water. Well, I guess it is Maha.
It is. Coconut water.
Why not? Now you could just get used.
Wow.
Need a refill?
No, yeah. Got a perk here.
Quite often, huh? Welcome to Gurudhara.
What, percent sugar?
Yeah.
Radhe Sham. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Jasura Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jasura Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Banachariya. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasura Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasura Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jasura Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanacharya Jamunatira Vanacharya Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Sri Radha Madhava ki Sri Radha Giridhari ki Gaura Premanandi Jaya Vishnupad Paramhamsa Paribrajakajaja Ashutara Sisi Mad His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Jaya Vishnupad Paramhamsa Paribrajakajaja Ashutara Sisi Mad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraj ki Anantikoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories, Sisi Guru and Sri Garam. Vishnu Radha Krishna Staya Kaleshma Bhakti Vedanta Swami. Could you open that door a bit? Let fresher air in here. So this morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, chapter 26. So Devahuti is inquiring, right? This is text 9. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tadojam Mudiraya Chirubhara Ki Jai. So text 9. Devahutirvacha Prakate Purushasyapi Lakshanam Purushottama Bruhi Karanayor Asya Sarasachcha Yadatmakam Devahutirvacha Prakate Purushasyapi Lakshanam Purushottama Bruhi karanayorasya Sarasachcha yadatmakam Devahutirvacha Prakrate purushasyapi Lakshanam purushottama Bruhi karanayorasya Sarasachcha yadatmakam. Please chant. Devahutirvacha Prakrate purusasyapi Lakshanam purushottama Bruhi karanayorasya Sarasachchayatmakam. Devahutirvacha Prakrite purusasyapi Lakshanam purushottama Bruhi karanayorasya Sarasachchadyaratmakam. Devahutirvacha Prakrite purusasyapi Lakshanam purushottama Bruhi karanayorasya Sarasachchadyaratmakam. Prabhu, would you like to chant? Devahutirvacha Prakrite purusasyapi Lakshanam purushottama Bruhi karanayorasya Sarasachchayatmakam. Synonyms. Devahuti vacha. Devahuti said. Prakritehe, of his energies. Purushasya, of the Supreme Person. Api, also. Lakshanam, characteristics. Purusha Uttama, O Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bruhi, kindly explain. Karanayo, causes. Asya, of this creation. Sarasat, manifest and unmanifest. Cha, and. Yat Atmakam, consisting of which. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Devahuti said, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, kindly explain the characteristics of the Supreme Person and his energies. For both of these are the causes of this manifest and unmanifest creation. Please repeat. Devahuti said, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, kindly explain the characteristics of the Supreme Person and his energies. For both of these are the causes of this manifest and unmanifest creation. So, purport. Prakriti, or material nature, is connected with both the Supreme Lord and the living entities. Is anyone feeling any connection with the material nature this morning? Yes. Okay, so this purport's true. Okay, so we're all experiencing it. Just, there's a wonderful example here Prabhupada gives. Just as a woman is connected with her husband as a wife and with her children as a mother. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that He impregnates Mother Nature with children, living entities, and thereafter all species of living entities become manifest. The relationship of all living entities with material nature has been explained. Now, an understanding of the relationship between material nature and the Supreme Lord is sought by Devahuti. The product of that relationship is stated to be the manifest and unmanifest material world. The unmanifest material world is a subtle Mahatattva. And from the Mahatattva, the material manifestation has emerged. So you got the basic material energy, and then from that, with a mixture of time and so on, things start happening. So manifest and unmanifest. Just like you have a pile of chapati dough on the counter in there, right? Dr. Larry? That's like your mahatattva. Then you get in there and you make chapatis. That's like the material. That's something happens, right? Something moves it, and hopefully every chapati comes out just like, Leela Shakti's chapatis. She's definitely the good mover of the chapati dough. Every single thing's perfect, paper thin, the exact size. So, okay. In the Vedic literatures, it is said that by the glance, akshata, of the Supreme Lord, the total material energy is impregnated, and then everything is born of material nature. It is also confirmed in the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita that under his glance, adhyakshena, under his direction and by his will, nature is working. It is not that nature works blindly. I was listening to a class yesterday, and Srila Prabhu was talking about this. Just like the sun, he says, rises at 6:15 every morning. So I guess where he was in Mayapur. And he says it sets at 5 something. So sometimes, he says, philosophers will say that it's all an accident. He said, but how are you going to have an accident like that every single day, that everything happens right on time? That's not an accident. Accident means, uh-oh, right? But if something's happening the exact same time every day, that's not indicative of an accident. You wouldn't call that an accident. It's an accident. Well, maybe if someone's on time, who's usually late, right? Oh, it's an accident that Bhakti Zak showed up for Mangal Artik on time today. What happened, Prabhu? Right? You could use it kind of jokingly like that, but if something's on time all the time, there is that joke about the train in India. You know that joke? That this English-British soldier, he was stationed there for many, many years, and he went back to England. Then he came back after Indian independence and so on, and he's standing on the platform in Delhi, like that, and the Indian gentleman's there, and they're talking, an older guy, and he explained that, when he was here before and so on, and how the trains never worked and this and that, and they're just talking, and then the Taj Express pulls in, and he goes, oh, he says, things have changed since I've been here. The train is on time. The British man says, the train is on time. The things have changed so nicely. And the man goes, no, that is yesterday's train. Things have not changed. Like that. So, but if something's on time, it's not an accident. So how is it the sun is rising and setting at the same time? We set our watches by the sun. Did you know that? All these clocks here, this atomic stuff and so on, that's by the movement of the time. And it's very sophisticated because if you notice, it changes. If you look on your phone or whatever, sunrise and sunset changes as it goes through the year. Now we're at the equinox, we have about 12 hours. But a few months ago, we had more than 12 hours of sunshine. And then in a few months, you'll see it gets dark early. Of course, they have daylight saving, but it gets dark early. And they can use a computer. They can tell you exactly what time the sun's going to rise and set 50 years from now or 100 years from now. How is that? Is that symptomatic of an accident? I don't think so. So by his will. It is not that nature works blindly. After understanding the position of the conditioned souls in relation to material nature, Devahuti wanted to know how nature works under the direction of the Lord and what the relationship is between the material nature and the Lord. In other words, she wanted to learn the characteristics of the Supreme Lord in relation to the material nature. The relationship of the living entity with matter and that of the Supreme Lord with matter are certainly not on the same level. That's very important. Stay here for this one. Okay. Although the Mayavadis may interpret it in that way. Okay, so we'll come back to this one. When it is said that the living entities are bewildered, the Mayavadi philosophers ascribe this bewilderment to the Supreme Lord. But that is not applicable. So in other words, if we're all God, why are we bewildered in an illusion? Right? Why are we covered by Maya if we're God? Because God is beyond illusion. He's beyond Maya. So it doesn't make any sense. There's something wrong with their philosophy. If we're all God, then how is it we're in a miserable, bewildered, illusioned condition? That's interesting. The Lord is never bewildered. That is the difference between a personalist and impersonalist. Devahuti was not unintelligent. She has enough intelligence to understand that the living entities are not on the same level of the Supreme Lord. Remind me to tell you when I finish this paragraph the story of Guru Maharaji. Okay, when I finish this, say, story of Guru Maharaji. Okay. Devahuti is not, okay. Because the living entities are infinitesimal, they become bewildered or conditioned by material nature, but this does not mean that the Supreme Lord is also conditioned or bewildered. The difference between the conditioned soul and the Lord is that the Lord is the Lord, the master of material nature, and he is therefore not subject to its control. He is controlled neither by material nature nor by the spiritual nature. He is the supreme controller himself, and he cannot be compared to the ordinary living entities who are controlled by the laws of material nature. Okay, so I just read this in Vishaka's book. She said one time, Mayapur, Vrindavan, Prabhu was there with a few devotees, and he started imitating Guru Maharaji, that I am God, and he asked the devotees to give different arguments, how he's not God. And they gave different things like, well, show us your universal form. And Prabhu said, had all the perfect answers. Well, when you become devoted, I will give you those divine eyes, and you will see. And like 3 or 4 different arguments, and Prabhupada shot back, the usual Hindu Svengali, you just kind of like make something up and, like that. And then Yadubar said that how is it one of your disgruntled followers hit you in the face with a cream pie on stage? And Prabhupada said, that's it. He says, because Krishna is never embarrassed. He's never, what was the word? Embarrassed and, anyways, embarrassed. Right? He's never put in that position of being embarrassed. Like that. Made a laughing stock of. Krishna's never done that. Krishna is never defeated like that. So the very fact that he got hit in the face with a pie right in front of everyone, he can't be God. So Prabhupada accepted that was the argument. Because Krishna is never embarrassed. Like that, right? He's never made a fool of. Because he's a supreme controller. Like that. Krishna's never made a fool of. Like that. So that was an interesting story. It was a perfect answer. Prabhupada said, yes, that's the answer. Because Krishna is never embarrassed by his, like that, made a fool of. Like that. So, last paragraph here. 2 words used in this verse are sat and asat. The cosmic manifestation is, of the 2 words, asat. Yeah. You ever hear those classes by Maharaj in Canada? Yeah, you ever hear him give classes and he has the devotees kind of guess the words? Yeah. Dental, like that. It's like a charades kind of a thing. Okay, so the cosmic manifestation is asat. It does not exist, but the material energy of the Supreme Lord is sat, ever existing. Material nature is ever existing in its subtle form as the energy of the Lord, but it is sometimes manifest. It's sometimes manifest as non-existent or temporary existent nature, the cosmos. An analogy may be made with the father and mother. The mother and the father exist, but sometimes the mother begets children. Similarly, this cosmic manifestation, which comes from the unmanifest material nature of the Supreme Lord, sometimes appears and again disappears. But the material nature is ever existing, and the Lord is the supreme cause for both the subtle and gross manifestations of this material world. It's an interesting point here because this Carl Sagan, who's an atheist, I think maybe passed away, but many years ago he had a famous TV show called Cosmos. And one of the things he was bringing up was that people say that this material world is caused by God. But then he says, who caused God? He says, why don't you just take God out of the equation and say that material nature has always been there, just, manifesting and unmanifesting. You don't need a God, it's just always going on. That's an interesting argument, isn't it? You don't need God, just things are just going on, right? But the difficulty there is there's nothing in matter to make things go on. What's the moving force? Where's the intelligence? Where's the consciousness? So it's interesting argument, but it's not well thought out, because there's nothing inherent in matter that would make it create and maintain and annihilate and then do it in cycles again and again. There's nothing in matter, when examined, that would indicate that would go on. So there's something acting from the outside. It's just like you have a potter there with his pile of clay on his wheel. You can look at that clay pile forever, but unless a potter sits down and does something with the clay, nothing's going to happen, right? The wheel is there, clay is there, but you ultimately need the potter. In fact, that's one of the verses in one of the Upanishads, right? The clay is there, the wheel is there, the movement of the wheel and the clay, but without the potter, nothing will happen. Even if that wheel goes around with a bunch of clay on it. So you have the cause, and the Mahatattva was like that wheel, and the elements are like the clay, but you need someone to turn the clay into something usable, like a pot or a cup or something, or a dish. Okay. Here we go. So it's important to understand the difference between, now I didn't study the previous verse, but it's saying here that already it's been explained the relationship between the living entity and material nature, right? Is it a whole bunch of verses? I mean, this particular section of the third canto gets into a lot about how we're suffering in this material world. Have we been reading that recently, or have we come to that yet? About the living entity dying and being ripped up by the Yamadutas and taking birth again and falling to illusion and all that kind of stuff. All those heavy brahmachari verses. We haven't got to that stuff yet. No. Okay. A lot of juicy stuff coming up. Stay tuned over the next few weeks. So, Prabhupada's stressing the point in the purport. There is a difference between the material nature, its relationship with the Supreme Lord, and with the living entities. The point being, as Prabhupada would preach very heavily all the time, that these foolish people think that we're God, the impersonalists, the Mayavadis, that we're all God. We just forgot we're God. And we're having our Leela in this material world. These are certain things they say. Now, a lot of times you meet people who don't know this kind of philosophy, but that's more or less what they're thinking. Like that, I'm God, I'm enjoying in this material world. Well, how's that going? Right? Just like sometimes you'll know someone that said, I haven't seen him in a long time. Oh, I got a job, and they say, well, how's it going? Well, I'm working at Walmart. Minimum wage. Having a great time, just like we used to have a devotee here back in the 80s. And he didn't like getting up early and working so hard in the temple, so he blooped. He left. He got a job in El Cajon. That's where he was from. You know what his job was? Breaking cement. He was one of those people that break, the jackhammer, break up cement. Patios and roads and all that. He was in a cement cutting company. Had to get up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, go to work, all day long breaking cement. So Maharaj went to visit him and said, how you doing, Hari? Like that. He said, oh, I'm doing just fine. You're not doing fine. You're breaking cement all day long. You think, right? So we're thinking, I'm enjoying in this world. I'm having a great time. Well, how about the old birth, death, disease, and old age? How about that? I don't think about it, right? So think about it. Think about our relationship with the material nature. We're completely under the jurisdiction and control of material nature. Living entities completely controlled by the material nature. Bound hand and foot. What does that mean? You ever see a picture of someone bound hand and foot? Hogtied, is that what they call it? Yeah. There you go, hogtied. So we're bound hand and foot in this material nature, the jiva. But Maya is so powerful, we think we're independent. That's amazing, isn't it? Therefore, what does it say in Sanskrit? Sammoham. You know what that means? Yeah, complete moham, complete illusion. It's complete. And it's done so expertly by Krishna. He's the Supreme Lord. If he wants, just like Mohini Murti, if Krishna wants to come as a beautiful woman, no one has a chance. Right? Mohini, what does Mohini mean? She's very bewildering, right? Moha. So why do you think she's called Mohini Murti? Because it's so beautiful and mesmerizing to everyone, even Lord Shiva, who's known as Well, he's known as Mahadev. Dhira, right? As I say, he's Dhira. He's completely undisturbed by the... He became disturbed. He's married to Maya. I mean, come on. If you're married to Maya, you got to be, he's not bewildered by his own wife, who's Maya, but he's bewildered by Mohini Murti. Like that, right? Who else was not bewildered by Maya when Maya came to test the... Haridas Thakur, right? So, just see that. So there's some moham. But Krishna's never bewildered by the material nature. So these bogus people think, oh, Krishna's an ordinary person. What? What is Krishna? Avajanti mam mudha. They're fools. They have no idea who I am. I mentioned that last class, maybe last week, about that rascal article in the Hinduism Today. A little article about how monotheism in Hinduism is not the answer. I mean, their definition of God was something bewildered by the material nature. So the real understanding is, and that pantheism isn't good, but it's impersonalism. Like that. That's the real good understanding of the absolute truth. Bogus article, because they have no understanding. Avajanti ma mudha manusim tanam asritam param bhavma janato mama bhutame. Right? They don't understand my supreme transcendental nature. I'm the supreme controller of this material nature. The whole material nature is an insignificant energy of Krishna. For him it's insignificant. For us it's overwhelming. Right? Just like you have a little kid next to you. You maybe lift 10, 15, 20 pounds. You give a little kid, they fall over. Right? A medicine ball or something like that. They just fall over. They try to lift it, they can't lift it. So that's the difference. And that's why the devotees, running out of time, that's why the devotees take shelter of Krishna. Right? Daiveshu Guna, you know that verse? Daiveshu Gunamai. You know that verse? You know that verse? Daiveshu Gunamai, Mama Maya Duratyaya. It says for the living entity, the material nature is Duratyaya. It's impassable. What does that mean if something's unsurpassable or impassable? What does that mean?
Constipation.
No, not at all. No. That's not it. That's another thing. You can discuss that later if you're having problems like that. You can see the quartermaster and get some problem for you, some Metamucil or something for you. What does impassable mean? You can't go around it. You just can't. You can't go around it like that. Like a big mountain or something. At least if forget it. I can't do it. Like insurmountable, right? You can't get over it. Duratyaya. Dur means difficult. It's impossible. It's impossible. You just give up. So, but Krishna says, those who surrender unto me, they can easily, tarantite, they just go right by it. Why? Because Krishna just moves it out of the way. It's his. It's like this, a little finger. Just like, no problem. No problem. Krishna just moves it right out of the way. It's not a problem at all for his devotees. Like that. So everyone's trying to figure out, for different reasons, how this material nature is working. The materialists are trying to figure out why, so they can exploit it. Isn't that true? Why is billions and billions of dollars spent in science? Like that, whether it's medicine or physics or this or that, or why are they trying to figure it all out? Not to find the absolute truth and become humble servants. Right? No, it's just to exploit it. That's why they can never find the person behind it, because they're looking at it as something for them to exploit. In other words, I want to control this energy. Just like if you see someone else's property and you don't acknowledge it belongs to someone else, you're thinking, boy, I'd really like to have that guy's chada. Right? Look at that chada, right? Oh, maybe that one over there's kind of green with a Harinam on it. Whoa! And then you just think, oh, that's a nice chada, that's a nice car, that's nice money, that's a nice this, whatever it is, the whole world. Mine, 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 mine. Let's exploit it. Right? You don't think about it belongs to someone else. All you think about is, I want to enjoy this thing. So that's the crux of material existence. However you want to polish it up or this or that, everyone in this material world, from the ant to Lord Brahma, is thinking the same way. Lord Brahma is thinking, well, this is a fantastic universe I got. It's my universe. It's my universe. And the ant is thinking, this is my grain of sugar. Don't touch it. It's my grain of sugar. Mentality is the same. There's no difference. There's actually no difference in the consciousness. So it's very important to understand and then realize how all of this is arranged. There's 5 topics in the Bhagavad Gita. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of you. What's one of them in Sanskrit? Kala, time. Karma, action and reaction. Jiva, living entity. Paramatma, the Supreme Lord. Ishvara. Today's verse is all about it. Prakriti, material nature. Right? So understand, this is what comprises the absolute truth. So understanding these five topics. These are the topics of the Bhagavad Gita. So this is a little discussion. And that's why Prabhu is quoting the Gita. Right? There's Maya Dakshena Prakriti Suyate Sa Charachanam. He mentions that in the ninth chapter, and how the living entity, Krishna says, Ham Bija Pradapita. I am the seed-giving Father. I impregnate all the living entities. The material nature is working under my direction. Like that. So all these is there for us to understand what's really going on here. Why? Because we want to get free from the limitations of the material nature. What's the biggest limitation? Time. If you think about it, because time at every second is destroying your life. Did you know that? You're older than you were when you sat down for class. And there's no way to go back in time. When I was your age, I was also sitting in Bhagavatam class. Right? My first Bhagavatam class was probably 45, 46 years ago. How old are you? 22. So twice your age. I can't go back in time. Right? Time is destroying everything. Time is destroying our life. Isn't that amazing? Right? Time is pushing everything, pushing the body, the mind, countries to go to war, economies to prosper and then to just fall apart, relationships to come together, fall apart, right? It's amazing. We're all being attacked and destroyed by us in the sense of our plans for happiness. So everyone's trying to figure out how to avoid that. How to avoid that. What's going on here? How to make the most of your time. That's the materialist. There's a famous song by the Rolling Stones about time. What is that line? Something on my side? Yeah, right? What an idiot. You ever see a picture of him recently? It doesn't look like he did back in the 60s. Looks like time's not on his side. But they say like that, oh, time's on my side. Time's on my side. It's never on our side. You may think it is. You have some advantage or something, but that's just a trick. It's never on our side. It's always pushing us, pushing us, pushing us. Do you ever like people pushing you around? Do you ever get pushed around? Someone just push you? You never been pushed? Oh, you ever been pushed by someone? All right? You don't like it, especially if they're not a friend. It's one thing if a friend pushes you, but someone just pushes you. So the material nature is just pushing everyone. Like that, pushing you right through this life into the next one, into the next one, into the next one. So, it's 8:30. How's breakfast coming? How are you guys doing in there? Should we keep talking?
Yeah.
Yep.
Keep going.
Okay, well, maybe push the cooks a little bit. Get breakfast on time. We've got a bunch of hungry devotees out here. Okay. So 2 words are used, sat and asat. The Lord is eternal, His spiritual entity is eternal, but the material nature is asat. Like that. It says it does not exist. Well, wait a second, it's all SanDiego. But it doesn't. For the soul, it doesn't exist. It does. It goes to that verse in the Bhagavad Gita about the knowers of the truth have examined both, the existent and non-existent, right? Material and spiritual. Like that. And in this material world, for them, it doesn't exist. It's like a dream. You could say a dream is real. Do you ever dream, Bhakti Larry?
I did a dream. Someday I'll be next to Lily like you.
I know one part of the dream is an illusion. Part about me. But so we dream. In one hand, we can say it's real, but is it really real? It's a dream. That's why they call it a dream. Like that. A dream. Just kind of like an idea, a dream. Like that. Will it ever come to fruition? I don't know. Like that. So our plans in this material world are a dream because they have no real substance for us. And the proof is, sooner or later we're left, well, they say empty-handed. Empty-handed. There's nothing there. Right? Just like some people, they have a bunch of money, then they have no money. I always tell me there's some story about some woman who won the lottery. Actually, her mother won the lottery. Her mother gave her the numbers and said, you go buy the ticket. I don't have money for the ticket. Now, I don't know. I guess she got, and her mother just let her keep it. $100 million. $100 million. Right? And it was a story about trying to get her life together because within a few months she burned through $22 million. She was already divorced with 4 kids. Her boyfriend had 4 kids, but he was a drug addict on his way to prison. You know? Her life was, it's like the money was almost gone, $100 million. Where did it all go? Empty-handed. Within a few months she'd be empty-handed. $100 million gone. So, that's the material world. Everything we have one day will not be there. So that's how this material nature is related to the living entities. It's just kind of a phantasmagoria. I was going to read this. Well, let's end. I'll read just one verse here. If you want to read a nice chapter about the nature of this material world, of course, we're going to be going into a few of them. But there's a chapter in the 5th canto called The Forest of Material Enjoyment. Has anyone read that one already? Have you read that one? Forest of Material Enjoyment. Have you read that? It's a real eye-opener. Like that. Just see here. I just want to read the first verse. If I can even see this. Where are my glasses? There we go. Hellish planets. Glories of Ananta. Jambudweep. It's near the beginning. Yes, because it's right after Maharaja Hugana. Jad Bharat was instructing him, and it was a little bit difficult to understand. So he asked for some elaboration, what he meant by a deep dark forest and material life and so on. So then there's this elaboration about the material world as the great forest of enjoyment, 409. Okay, let me just read this one, the opening verse, okay? Just some interesting meditation here. See this. Interesting font they used. It's not a good font. It's not a good font. You know serif and sans serif fonts? You know what those are? Okay. Well, Times Roman, when little, in the publications, most of the books, it's Times Roman. It's easy to read. And you have things like, what is that? Arial and so on. It's good online. On a computer, it's easy to read. So this font is not Times Roman, it doesn't look like. But anyways, here's the translation. When King Parikshit asked Sukadeva Goswami about the direct meaning, so Sukadeva Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj was wondering what was going on in this conversation, what it meant by the material forest. Sukadeva Goswami replied as follows. Here's the verse. My dear king, a man belonging to the mercantile community, Vanik, is always interested in earning money. Sometimes he enters the forest to acquire some cheap commodities like wood and earth and sell them in the city at a good price. Similarly, the conditioned soul, being greedy, enters this material world for some material profit. Gradually he enters the deepest part of the forest, not really knowing how to get out. Having entered the material world, the pure soul becomes conditioned by the material atmosphere, which is created by the external energy under the control of Lord Vishnu. Thus, the living entity comes under the control of the external energy, Daivi Maya. Living independently and bewildered in the forest, he does not attain the association of devotees who are always engaged in the service of the Lord. Once in the bodily conception, he gets different types of bodies, one after another, under the influence of the material energy and impelled by the modes of material nature. In this way, the conditioned soul goes